He saved everyone, but no one came to his funeral. When the church doors opened that morning, they expected a crowd. They had set up 200 chairs, printed programs, flowers lined the aisle. The parking lot had been cleared for overflow cars. But when the service began, the seats stayed empty. The air felt heavy, quiet, wrong. At the front of the room, a single wooden coffin rested beneath soft white lights, and inside that coffin was a man who had saved more lives than anyone could count. Yet somehow, no one came to say goodbye. Only 3 people stood there: the pastor, the gravedigger, and an old woman no one seemed to recognize. That was it. So how does a man who spent his entire life saving others die completely alone? His name was Thomas Hale, but everyone in town just called him Tom. If something bad happened, you called Tom. If your car broke down at midnight, Tom showed up. If your kid fell off a bike, Tom was already running with a first aid kit. If smoke rose above a house, Tom was the first one through the flames. For 40 years, he was a volunteer firefighter, then a paramedic, then something even rarer. He became the kind of neighbor people don't make anymore, the kind who knocks on your door just to ask if you're okay, the kind who fixes your roof and refuses payment, the kind who remembers your birthday when your own family forgets. People used to joke that Tom didn't sleep, because somehow, he was always there. 23 years ago, the old apartment building on Maple Street caught fire in the middle of the night. Flames swallowed the second floor in minutes. Families were screaming from the windows, smoke everywhere, chaos. The fire department hadn't even arrived yet. But Tom had. He ran inside without gear, without backup, without thinking. He came out carrying a little girl wrapped in a blanket. Then he went back in, again, and again, and again. That night he pulled out 5 people. On the last trip, part of the ceiling collapsed behind him. If he had been 10 seconds slower, he wouldn't have made it. The newspaper called him a hero. He hated that word. He said, "I just did what anyone would do." But everyone knew that wasn't true, because not everyone runs into a burning building. Not everyone stays. Not everyone risks their life for strangers. Tom did. Always. Years passed and the rescues never really stopped. CPR in the grocery store parking lot, pulling a teenager from a wrecked car during a storm, driving an old veteran to chemo appointments every week, paying for a kid's inhaler when the parents couldn't afford it. Little things, big things, quiet things no one ever saw. If you ask around town, almost everyone has a Tom story. He fixed my furnace during winter. He stayed with my mom at the hospital all night. He gave me money for food and told me not to pay him back. Tom showed up. Every time. But something changed as the years went by. Not Tom. The town. Stores closed. Families moved away. People stopped talking on porches. Phones replaced neighbors. Messages replaced visits. Everyone got busy. Too busy. Tom would still knock on doors. Sometimes nobody answered, even though he could hear the TV inside. Birthdays got quieter. Thank you calls got shorter. Then they stopped altogether. The world moved faster, and Tom slowly became invisible. He kept helping, but fewer people noticed. Fewer people remembered. Until one day, most people simply assumed he'd always be there. Like streetlights, like sidewalks, like air. You only notice them when they're gone. What nobody knew was that Tom had been quietly paying other people's bills for years. Electricity, groceries, medicine, sometimes rent. He kept a small notebook in his kitchen drawer with names and amounts, not debts, just reminders. Make sure Sarah has heat this month. Check on Mr. Lewis's prescription. He never told anyone. He didn't want thanks. He said if people knew, they might feel embarrassed. So he carried it alone. And then came the diagnosis. Heart failure. Nothing dramatic. Nothing immediate. Just the kind of slow ticking clock doctors talk about gently. Months. Maybe a few years. Take it easy, they told him. Rest more. But Tom didn't know how to rest. The next morning he was back to fixing Mrs. Carter's leaking sink, because that's who he was. Help first, pain later. One night during a bad storm, the power went out across half the town. An elderly neighbor called him. She was scared. Her oxygen machine had stopped working. Tom drove through the rain, set up a generator, stayed until she fell asleep. On the drive home, he pulled over twice because the pain in his chest wouldn't go away. He didn't tell anyone. Didn't want to worry people. A week later, he collapsed in his kitchen. No dramatic music. No last words. Just silence. By the time they found him, he was gone. The church assumed everyone would come. Of course they would. It was Tom. But people were working, traveling, busy. Some thought, I'll visit the grave later. Some didn't hear the news. Some meant to go and forgot. So the chairs stayed empty, and the man who had saved an entire town was buried almost alone. A few days after the funeral, someone cleaning his house found the notebook, then the receipts, stacks of them, years and years of quiet generosity, thousands of dollars, dozens of names. Almost everyone in town was on those pages. People started recognizing their own stories. That date, that was my surgery. That bill, he paid that. That medicine, and I thought insurance covered it. One by one, the truth hit. Tom hadn't just helped them. He had carried them, and none of them had shown up. The guilt spread fast, like a second funeral. Grown men cried, neighbors hugged. People kept saying the same thing. I never said thank you. They built a small memorial near the fire station, planted a tree with his name on it, started a volunteer day every year. It was beautiful, but it was late. Too late for Tom to see. Maybe that's the part that hurts the most. Not that no one loved him, but that everyone assumed there would always be more time to visit, more time to call, more time to say thank you. There's a strange tragedy in that. Sometimes the people who hold everyone else together are the ones nobody checks on. The strongest shoulders carry the heaviest loneliness. Tom never asked for applause, never wanted crowds, but maybe, just maybe, he deserved to see how much he mattered while he was still alive. So if there's someone in your life who always shows up, the helper, the quiet one, the reliable one, don't wait. Don't assume they know. Call them. Thank them. Visit them. Because one day, there might be an empty chair where you should have been, and you don't want to learn their value when it's already too late.